Hey everyone, I'm back on my bullshit. I'm gonna have to be kind of quiet in this one because my roommate is sleeping in the other room and the walls here not very thick. Um, you guys probably won't hear it, but I can hear him snoring if I'm quiet, so we'll have to keep it kind of quiet. So to get a few things out of the way, I think this is gonna become something of a series. Um, so to pick up where we left off. I think it was like at least a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. I was diagnosed with depressive type schizoaffective disorder. If you haven't watched the first video, I don't believe it was a full on like psyche eval. There were a lot of questionnaires, but we also kind of went off the questionnaires at some point. So I'm not positive that that's like a fully confirmed like rigid diagnosis, but there's there's a solid chance that it might be accurate. Um, you know, it was a doctor that said it, so I'm gonna trust her judgment over mine. Um, but at the same time, I do kind of wonder. I initially thought I was more of a fit for schizotypal personality disorder, but regardless, hold on a second. I might have to do this another time. I'm not trying to keep my roommate up, but I don't hear the snoring anymore. No, kinda. I just, it's my night off, and I've had a bit to drink, which I don't do very often. It doesn't take much. I've had 2 beers, and I'm tipsy because I'm lean as fuck right now. As much as I look flabby, a lot of it's just loose skin, regardless. Um, Sorry, my thinking is a mess even when I'm sober. Uh, the point of this one, I wanted to get into more detail on my psychotic symptoms because I was rewatching the previous video and I realized that I really left a lot of shit out that I just straight up didn't get to. Um, so here's some things from the schizotypal diagnostic criteria that got me first thinking about this. And some of this applies to schizoaffective and schizophrenia and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, these things were the things that I noticed the most first. Um, anyways, number one, ideas of reference. This one is a big one for me. I get it a lot. Um, One of my favorite examples, which I'm not sure if I've ever put like on tape before, so you may have heard this story, you may not have. Um, but there was one time I was doing laundry and like I was like scraping out the lint trap in the dryer because if you don't do that, of course, like your shit can catch fire and like burn your fucking house down. It's bad news. So remember to clean out your lint trap, kids. God, I hope there are no kids watching this. Uh, so I was scraping out like in our dryer, it's like a long mesh panel thing that you just kind of pull out. And the ball of Schreier lint that I pulled out vaguely was shaped like a heart. And so the thing is, like, I'm kind of a hypochondriac, like real bad. And so when I fucking was standing there holding this ball of dryer lint and saw that it was vaguely heart shaped, I was like, oh shit, what if this is an omen that something bad is about to happen, like I'm gonna have a heart attack or something. And of course, immediately, like, I have enough insight to realize that that's just the craziest fucking shit ever. And so, like, I don't know, at times like that, it's hard not to laugh at myself, to be honest, because it's just like, why? It's a ball of hair and dust and clothing fibers. Like, it means nothing. Just fucking throw it away and finish doing your laundry. But I don't know, man. It fucking, for a second, it freaked me out because I think to me, what it is, and this goes back to what I said in a previous video about a lot of this shit being possibly traumagenic, at least partially, because there is clearly like we know pretty well that there's a genetic component to conditions like schizophrenia, but trauma and stuff like that definitely plays an influence. Um, like the genetics make it so that there is a predisposition, but the switches get flipped by trauma, perhaps. Maybe in some cases. We don't really know very well yet. But I feel like part of the reason why I get ideas of reference so bad and a lot of like my paranoid delusions is because like the part of my brain that does pattern recognition is just trying so hard to see any sign of danger anywhere that it's just straight up making shit up at this point. Like, just the craziest mental gymnastics to find any reason to look at something totally benign and see it as dangerous. Just because, like, it wants to, like, my subconscious is trying to preemptively find danger before it becomes overt so that I can, like, avoid it before it's too late. And it's just, there's a point to which that can be helpful, but it is clearly gone so far beyond any sort of reasonable way of going about things. So there's ideas of reference for you, or like, being in traffic and like in another lane, multiple cars away with no lights on or anything. There'll just be an ambulance just like on its way somewhere, not on a call. And just the fact that there's an ambulance around, I'm like, and this is part ideas of reference, part magical thinking. But it's like just the fact that there's an ambulance nearby freaks me the fuck out because I get like this is really embarrassing, but it's almost like like a Final Destination thing where it's like, wouldn't it just be like cosmically ironic and humorous in a really dark, fucked up way if something, again, going back to the hypochondria, really bad happened to me and I started having like a medical emergency in my car and there's an ambulance right there. Like how like I said, just like ironic and funny in a really fucked up way would that be? And that gets me thinking like, I don't know, it's hard to explain where it's like it's almost like the fact that it's there makes me paranoid that it's more likely to happen because of how like ironic and like a strange coincidence it would be. And again, I have enough insight to know that that's just a crazy line of thought. Like, being near paramedics does not make you more likely to have a medical emergency. It probably makes you more likely to survive one if one were to happen, but your actual likelihood of it happening in the first place doesn't go up because there are paramedics around. But I just can't stop like the intrusive thoughts from popping in. Um, Other examples of magical thinking that I didn't get into are, and this one's really hard for me because it freaks me out a lot, even though it's another one that I realize is fucking crazy and stupid, and I'm embarrassed to admit to it, but I'm already making a fucking fool of myself, so here we go. I get freaked out that if I think too hard about someone who is dead, that I might see them. Um, which, if you haven't watched the first video, I've never had a visual hallucination in my life, as far as I know. I've never had an auditory hallucination, as far as I know. I do get like illusions, they call them, where it's like, as I've said in the previous video, like music seems to either speed up or slow down, or sometimes like I can't tell difference between pitch, but it's like very temporary, like it's just for a few seconds, like a few seconds of sheer tone deafness, and then everything's back to normal. Just weird shit like that. But never, like I've never heard a voice that wasn't real, or like seen something that wasn't there. Um, but regardless, like I'm gonna be real with you. I'm starting to get freaked out just fucking talking about it. But like a few years ago, one of my grandpas passed away. Uh, he was a step grandfather, but he was like the one that I was closest to out of anyone else in the family, really. Um, and like I get really freaked out that if I think too hard about him, like he'll know, like. And again, if you watch the first video, I don't even believe in an afterlife, or like the idea of a soul that exists separate from the body. I'm a skeptic in reality. Like I don't believe any of that shit is real. I don't believe in ghosts or anything, but still, like, I get panicked when I think about him, because it's like, what if I'm wrong? What if he knows? And what if the fact that I'm thinking about him so much, like, either A, like, I'm wrong and this shit is real, and thinking about him will, like, give his spirit the energy to show up, or B, what if me thinking about it so much brings me to my first real, like, visual hallucination? Um, and that's something I've been afraid of a lot recently. Is like, if that doctor thought I had schizoaffective, or I just thought I had schizotypal, but if I really do have schizoaffective, then like, what if I'm gonna start seeing shit? It's really freaking me out just to think about that. Um, to think that I might actually be in like the prodromal phase, and I'm just catching it real early, and like shit hasn't actually gotten started yet. You know, freaks me the fuck out. Those of you who haven't noticed, this is a sigil of Lucifer right here. Um, Again, I mentioned I'm a skeptic, but like occult symbols have always fascinated me. That was another thing that made me wonder about the schizotypal, is like, as much as there's no like genuine belief there, like I got it for like political reasons. Because I'm a visually visibly queer person, and the influence of the big C Christian church has been a ideological thorn in my side for a long time. That's the whole reason I got it. As much as I don't believe in, sorry, 2 beers. Um, as much as I don't believe in the Christian God, I similarly don't believe in the Christian devil. I don't know why one would be real and the other not, If one's not real, then the other isn't either. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think either of them are real personally. But yeah, I got it for political reasons. I don't even know what the fuck I was talking about before I got distracted by that. So there's your disorganized thoughts. Um, right. That was another reason why I was thinking schizotypal. Is just that like I have a fascination with shit like that, despite the fact that I don't even believe in it. But like I wanted to get my entire left arm covered in like occult shit, like alchemical symbols and sigils and stuff like that. just because I think it's cool, but um I'm not sure if this is not like an outright psychotic symptom, I don't think. at least on like assessments for schizophrenia, it would be considered a negative symptom, whereas the diagnostic criteria are almost entirely centered around the positive symptoms, um, like hallucinations and delusions. But so socially, um, for example, I should mention this. I did get a job between my last video and this one, which are only like days apart. Um, I'm working in another factory again, and if you haven't been able to tell by the state of my hands, um, it's been hard. My hands are fucking hamburger meat, dude. Like, god damn, I need to build some calluses, but I need to stop bleeding first. I'm glad that, it's Friday night. I have Saturday off and Sunday, but that's the last Saturday I'm gonna have off for a while from the sound of it. Um, so I'm glad I get 2 nights off. Like, hopefully my shit can heal a little bit before I continue. But anyways, the lunchroom is a bit small, and almost all of the seating in the lunchroom is tables that have enough chairs for like. Sorry, I'm really fucking tired. They have enough chairs for like 4 to maybe 6 people per table. So they're not particularly huge tables, and we got like 5 of them. It's really frustrating to me that people will sit like towards the middle of the table instead of one end or the other, because that makes it so that I can't sit at that table without being closer to them than I'd like to be. Like, I want to be on the opposite end of the table from them because I just don't want to fucking be around people like that. Or like, there's people there that it's only, today was my third day, but there's people there that like they've already fucking memorized my name, which like I look weird, so that's not hard to do. Um, I don't really blend into a crowd, but like there's particularly to a couple of women there have like memorized my name, and they'll say hi to me every fucking time they pass by me, and it fucking pisses me off, to be honest. Um, which like if any of them ever see this video, I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. You're trying to be friendly, and I appreciate that. I'm fucked in the head, and that's the problem. Like, when people say hi to me, they're acknowledging that they can see and or hear me, and that drives me crazy because I don't want anyone to see or hear me ever. And I hate having to talk too. I really, which is funny for me recording this right now, but I hate talking so bad in person or on the phone or even really in text. Like, it takes me days to answer texts because I just don't want to be talking to people like that. I think because it's just too intimate for me. Like, based on that, I think some people would be like, oh, that sounds more like schizoid, but I don't think schizoid has any of like the psychotic symptoms. I think they're just like hardcore loners, right? Which I kinda am, but like I have friends. Or like there's a Discord server that's like, sorry, I'm gonna fucking yawn again. I've been really active in a Discord server that's for like far left, radical, like queer people in my city. And I've like shown up to a few of the events and everything. Like, I'm trying to make more friends there. And I especially want to date again. Like, that's actually really important to me. So I don't think schizoid is a fit for me, but it's just like, if I'm not already friends with you, or you're not part of a group that I'm trying to get into, and we're not gonna date, then I kind of really don't want to have any interaction. Like, at least not directly, and especially not in person. And like I said, I think it's just too close to me. Like, I don't like people getting that close. I don't want people to think about me even. I think that's why I hate when people can see me or hear me, is because I know then that I am present in their stream of consciousness, sorry. And I don't want to be. I don't want people to even think about the fact that I exist. And I don't know why, but it just bothers me. Like, I just don't want that much attention on me. Um, like, I've been helping a friend of mine, well, two friends, they're a couple. They've been, they're in the process of renovating a new house. And I've been helping them, but like, there was a time we were like standing in the front yard. And it was like me and one of them and like a couple members of his family, like his grandma and her tiny ass little dog. And we were just like standing around in the front yard chatting. And one of the neighbors across the street and like a house or two down was just standing in his front door watching us. And I could see him. And it was not a hallucination because other people saw him too. Because I pointed it out to my friend. I was like, the fucking neighbors are staring at us. He's like, fuck it, let them stare. I was so pissed off. Like, holy shit, it bothered me so bad. Because I just don't like people looking at me. I don't even like dogs looking at me. Like, it's weird, but I can't stand it. It feels like having my face pressed against a hot oven. I don't like being fucking looked at. Like, the day I got my diagnosis, I didn't expect that to happen. I was going to an appointment with my counselor, who is just an LCSW, which for those of you outside the US, I don't know if you have that abbreviation, licensed clinical social worker. They're not supposed to make diagnoses, so she set me up with somebody else who could. And so I went to that clinic, and like I said, this was like a walk-in thing. I didn't know that was going to happen that day. But it happened that I was wearing like like a Victorian style dress type deal, like corset and everything. Not like a legit one, but like one built into the dress, kind of more for looks than actual, like, the function of a corset. But I was wearing that and like lace gloves, and I had my veil on. Like, I have like a Victorian style, like partially see through lace border, like morning veil. And I was wearing that, and I showed up to that fucking like assessment or whatever in that outfit. And it's just like, I don't know. I like that veil because it feels like I have my own sort of like mobile privacy shade. Um, Even though I know that it actually makes people look at me more, I just feel it less, which is not like, do not get the impression that I'm describing a tactile hallucination because I don't actually feel it. It's purely an emotional thing. But it's just like, when they're just seeing like a crazy outfit, it's better than them seeing my face, I guess, is where my thinking goes with that. But yeah, I'm really weird socially. I don't want to be spoken to. Like, I really fucking hate small talk, especially things where they'll end sentences with like right or shit like that. That just forces you to say something back. And if you don't say something back, like, they consider you an asshole. It's just like, there's no fucking reason for me to reply to that. Like, that wasn't a legit question. All you're gonna get out of me is a yeah or whatever. And it's like, why do you need to hear that from me? Like, just give me whatever fucking information you're trying to convey and don't worry about getting an acknowledgement out of me. Like, I don't know. I am fucked in the head. I'm sorry. Um, I briefly touched on paranoid delusions, in the previous video. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing again, but like, I talked about like my most recent ex-girlfriend, like the thoughts that I had there that were fucking crazy and shit like that. So I've had paranoia for a while, and honestly, I didn't really recognize it until I started to see my other like psychotic symptoms like seemingly getting worse lately, to be honest. Um as far as I know, I've never had legit psychosis, which I mentioned in the first video. But like I can think of an incident back in 2015, which for those of you know, like that's the year I got like kicked out, sort of. Long fucking story. um, but like when that happened, like the like week that it was occurring, my parents started like calling my friends. And I didn't know how my parents had any of my friends' numbers. I got myself convinced that my brother was like feeding information to my parents. And that's how like they knew who I was staying with and got people's numbers and shit. Which in hindsight, like my brother would not have known any of these people's phone numbers. So this wouldn't have even been possible anyways. But like I was like, holy shit, they're calling my friends. They know where I am. How is this happening? There's got to be a leak somewhere. There's a mole in my midst. Like, again, this is embarrassing how fucking out of my mind I was. But it turns out because I am just a brilliant fucking genius, I had written a bunch of phone numbers down on a piece of paper, which was a good idea. A not so good idea was the fact that I forgot about that shit and left that slip of paper in my room after I'd already packed my fucking bags and left. Like, they just found that slip of paper with all of the people that I was talking to at the time listed there with their phone numbers. And that's how they were calling my friends. My brother had nothing to do with it, but like, the way that I got about that whole situation damaged my relationship with my brother for years. Which, like, he's one of the people I'm closest to in this fucking world. Um, See, I deeply regret that fucking situation. Um, Another thing that I'm not sure necessarily if it's a psychotic symptom or like something to do with my depression or maybe just a trauma thing, completely divorced from any sort of other condition rather than just the fact that I've been through some shit. Lately, I've been feeling just like permanently dissociated, or maybe derealized, or maybe depersonalized. I don't know which one of the D or dis ones it is, but I just like I'm just not fully mentally present ever anymore. Like everything feels a little bit like a dream to me, which gets a bit scary. Fuck, I was not paying attention. I'm so sorry about that. That last bit got cut off. Um, See, I'm permanently feeling a bit divorced from my surroundings. Uh, I was saying that it gets a little bit scary when I'm driving, to be honest. I will say that I'm 29. I've been driving since I want to say like 23. 23 or 24 is when I started driving. Again, that's another fucking long story related to being kicked out and stuff. Um, I got my license a little later than most people did. But yeah, I've been driving since, roughly those ages. And I'm 29, about to turn 30 soon. And I've never hit another car. I got a ticket once for going through a stop sign that I didn't notice, but that's the only ticket I've ever had. Like, so my driving is not that bad apparently. Um, like my reaction time is fine, as much as like negative symptoms can sometimes impair your movement and everything. Like, I I still do my MMA, and my instructor even said last week, like, oh, we should get you a fight soon, which is ridiculous to me. I'm sure he was just blowing smoke up my ass. There's no way he believes that either. Like, I'm definitely not ready for it. I'm still trying to shake the rust off after my like multi-year hiatus. But anyways, I think I'm fine as far as that shit goes. It's just like maybe it's more of a mental state or emotional thing, but it's hard to focus on literally anything, even when I know that I really should. It just feels like every second of my life I am hardcore on autopilot to the point where, like, it's not that I actually question if anything is real or not, because I know it is, but it's just my sense of what reality feels like is different than what it was just like a year ago. Um, it's really hard to describe, but shit like that is one of the things that makes me wonder if I was wrong about schizotypal and the doctor is correct about schizoaffective. Um, I don't know. Definitely, no, you can't trust my word on this shit very much, especially if the doctor is right. And I am, that level of unwell. As I mentioned in the first video, I'm not medicated. So, you know, you could very well be listening to the ramblings of an unmedicated schizoaffective. God help you. This is going to be hard to follow in that case. Let's see what else. I did mention in the last one that I have paranoid delusions in general, but especially around police. I don't know if I mentioned that in the last one, but like police just make me really uncomfortable. I'm not a person that believes in gang stalking, not generally. I do think that, if you are like, you've testified against a member of the mafia in court or something, okay, maybe you might be a victim of gang stalking. But like, if you're not like Edward Snowden or some shit, I don't think gang stalking really is that likely to really fucking happen. So I don't think that I am a targeted individual or any of those things. But at the same time, like, there's a part of me that worries that someone amongst my friends or family might try to have me committed for reasons that I believe are not legitimate. Like, I don't think I need it. Because I know that even what I'm saying now, everything I've mentioned to you, including what I'm talking about now, I realize are crazy thoughts. And I've never like had a genuine full belief in any of this stuff. And so I think, given that I have that level of awareness, that I don't need to be hospitalized. And I showed you my paperwork in the first video. Like my paperwork doesn't say, like, it gave treatment recommendations, but as far as it went was IOP, which is intensive outpatient. So there was no mention of being hospitalized or even partially hospitalized. So I don't think it's necessary, and the doctor doesn't seem to think it's necessary either. But I still get anxious sometimes when I see police in traffic or whatever. And it's just like, oh my god, did somebody report me for no good fucking reason? Like, am I about to just fucking get an involuntary just because somebody, like, doesn't fully understand that I'm not doing that bad? Shit like that. Or like, I have tonight off, though I'm not totally positive because I didn't ask my managers about it. I asked the guy that was training me, who's not a manager. And he said that new guys always have their first Saturday off. But like I said, I didn't ask management about that. I'm just taking his word for it. And I'm fucking paranoid as shit that, like, what if I'm wrong and they call me in like a few hours? Or like, hey, where the fuck are you at? It's like, what do I say to that? Because I'm gonna have to admit to the fact that I just took that guy's word for it and didn't ask a manager. Which, like, I realize maybe I should have, but I'm so fucking cagey about authority figures that, like, I patently refuse to speak to management unless they come to me first. Like, no matter what, because I'm always, they say the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And I don't even want to be like a thought in management's head. As much as I can avoid it, I want them to forget that I'm there, because the more that they think about me, the more I'm afraid they'll fuck with me. So I didn't ask them. I took the guy's word for it, and it's like, if they call me and ask what the hell is going on, like, I'm just gonna tell them, like, oh, I'm sorry, I thought I had it off, blah blah blah. The guy had said this, that. Even though I know that, like, if that is the case, like, if I was misled, like, clearly I should have asked somebody legit. But God, I just couldn't bring myself to do it because it fucking scares me so bad. I don't handle authority figures well. And that's another thing that I think is traumagenic, because, I've mentioned basically in every single video I've ever fucking posted that I just didn't have that good a relationship with my parents in a lot of ways, especially my mother. Um, so yeah, it's hard for me to separate, honestly, how much of this is just like straight up psychotic symptoms and how much of it is like the shit that I've been through has fucking altered my thought process. And like maybe just like the same kind of treatment you would give to someone who had like PTSD or something might benefit me. Maybe I fucking have PTSD, but like I've mentioned before that I don't really have flashbacks of specific events, nor like memories or intrusive thoughts, intrusive memories, however you want to describe it, of specific events, or like there are no like words or situations that trigger me aside from the authority thing. Hmm. I will say, I just thought of another example of magical thinking. And this was a couple years ago that I started getting this. And thankfully, I don't really get this one much anymore. But I don't know if it's magical thinking or delusion or both. But this would have been 2023. Like, sorry. Fuck, I'm tired. This would have been in the summer of 2023. Like, summer into fall. I know because of the job I was working at the time. I would be like on the way to work, and as I'm driving, I would be thinking about moments in my past, and I would start to panic because I had this feeling. I don't really know how to describe it. It wasn't like a belief, but a feeling, like a sense that if I kept thinking about those events in my past, I would get like pulled through, like back to those times. Which again, I have to clarify that I fully realize that that is fucking insane. Like, I know that shit just doesn't work that way. That doesn't happen. Can't, won't, never would. I fully realize that. But like, just that like feeling that I was getting that it like might be about to happen was freaking me the fuck out so bad that I would have a panic attack whenever I would start thinking about that shit. So, being able to look back on shit that's, like I said, that was in like summer of last year, and I didn't get diagnosed until, a week or two ago. But it's just like, as much as a lot of this like feels really recent to me, like like within the past few weeks or months recent, I can look back on my life like surprisingly far back and find things that I don't know if make sense is the word, but like looking at them in the context of having that diagnosis, like completely changes my view on them. Like, at the time it was just like, yeah, I'm really fucked up in the head. Like, I've had a lot of bad shit happen to me, but now it's like, I can recognize them as like, that was, to me, that seems like a psychotic symptom for real. Like, to get that worked up over something so impossible, like, simply having PTSD would make you believe that you could get sucked through time. Like, not that I actually believed it, but like my subconscious clearly did by the fucking physiological reaction I was having to the mere thought of it. Um, that's something else that I've been thinking about a lot, like the idea that the schizo prefix comes from like the concept of a schism. Like I don't remember who coined the term or when, or if I'm even remembering this correctly, but something about like schizophrenia being like a split mind disorder or something like that. And that makes a lot of sense to me. Like I can feel that a lot, not in the sense of like it's not like a DID thing, like dissociative identity where you have alters and stuff. It's not like that. But it's like there's the subconscious and the conscious. Freud had words for those, but I don't remember which one is which. But like the conscious mind is like me as I understand me, and then the subconscious mind is like your instinct and everything. It just feels like my subconscious has just completely gone off the fucking rails, and my conscious mind is constantly having to argue against these crazy fucking ideas that my subconscious is just constantly cramming into my thought process. Like my subconscious is the one that was afraid that I was going to get sucked back through time. And of course, my conscious mind is like, that doesn't happen. Or like the lint ball situation. Like the immediate response was, like, for just a split second, like I was like spiraling towards a panic attack. But then like my conscious mind cut in, again within a fraction of a second. Like, okay, Nutter Butters, fucking walk it back a step. This is a lint ball. Like, I just, like, my thought process feels like the biggest fucking idiot you've ever met, just blurting shit out. And then a slightly more rational person, which is me, having to talk that shit down constantly, which again, snoring. I thought I had woken him up. Uh, yeah, it just feels like everything in my head is just a fucking argument, which I have to clarify once more. I'm not hearing voices. It's just, that's the way my thought process works. Is there's just this automatic assumption that doesn't make any fucking sense, and then I have to like go back and turn it into like a finished product of a thought that actually makes sense. I don't know. Again, this is probably real hard to follow. I'm sorry. I I need to go to bed. But anyways, I thought I would go into more of my psychotic symptoms. I still feel like it's not all of them. I'm sure I'm gonna watch this tomorrow be like, fuck, you idiot, how did you forget? Blah, blah, blah. Um, I'm sorry. I should really like sit down and write out like an outline of this shit before I start recording. But then that just wouldn't be my style, would it? I kind of just turn the camera on and start fucking rambling. Um, anyways, fun times. I desperately need a piss after 2 beers. And then I'm probably gonna go to bed. So I'll see you around.